It's been a lovely, lovely few days. Plenty to update you all on. I'm just sitting on the couch here at the place that we are staying, and yeah, plenty to update you on. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. Always good to do that. The way these streams tend to work is that I give my opening remarks, and my opening remarks are followed by a roll call where I call you all out, names and locations. We find out who is on the other side of the camera, who's watching. Then from there, I answer your super chat questions for the rest of the night. So if there's something you would like me to talk about, address in the second half of our program, by all means, send me a super chat. Send me a Rockfin tip, send me a Rumble rant. Quick announcement before we get going here. If you are in the Portland area, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, come to our weekend workshop. We are having a 3-day introduction to Marxism, anti-imperialism, kind of a 3-day anti-imperialist socialist weekend workshop that we're doing in the Portland area. So if you want to get involved, just shoot me a message or get involved. So yeah, we'd really like you to be involved. I see we got one super chat that's already come through from Thomas Gunn. You are on the list. Keep the super chats rolling in. We're only on YouTube tonight because I'm streaming via my phone, right? It didn't bring my webcam with me to Portland. So yeah, we're streaming via my phone, and that's fine. So if there's something you would like Thomas Gunn just did, send me a super chat, and I'll answer it in the second half of our program. So you ready for the big update? The big update is this weekend we had an astounding success. The Center for Political Innovation hosted its first national convention in Portland, Oregon. And it was really, really amazing. We had, from what we counted, there were a total of roughly 150 people who attended. 150 people attended. However, there was about 100 that stayed for the whole event. That's the estimate that we're going with. But in terms of people who came in the door, registered, came in, we had 165 who registered for the event, but 150 who came for the whole thing, or came in. But there was a solid crew of about 100 people that were there the whole time. And it was absolutely tremendous. It was really, really a great event. Very exciting speeches from Scott Ritter, from Garland Nixon, from Syed Husseini, from Jyoti Brar, from Lee Stranahan, music and a speech from David Rovics, the great musician. In addition to that, we had an amazing opening ceremony. We had a dramatic performance, which will be posted online soon. I don't want to give it away, but some folks got up and did a play during the conference. They did a short skit to illustrate a Marxist political point. A very powerful closing. I, of course, gave an address closing the event. It was amazing. It was really amazing. The venue was absolutely beautiful. A beautiful view at the Tumwater Ballroom in Oregon City. It was amazing. It was really, really a great day. This was a great step forward for anti-imperialism. Garland Nixon was so moved. He actually got up and gave a second presentation. The first one wasn't enough. The night before, Friday night, we had an event with Jyoti Brar, that was pretty well attended the night before, where she spoke about the World Anti-Imperialist Platform. A number of people from the Party of Communists, Chris Halali, and others made a point of attending. Rainer Shea, our good friend, he attended. He gave a great speech. In addition to that, Veterans for Peace, a guy named Rick from Veterans for Peace gave a great presentation. That was really, really amazing. Wow. There were just a number of different speakers. John McCarthy, our member, spoke about the Uhuru case. We had a special video message from Chairman O'Malley Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party. We had a special video message from Tara Reid. She made a special video message for the event. And Craig Pasta Jardula was originally going to come, but he had a health condition. His travels to Hawaii, he got sick. And so he made a very special video message as well. All those video messages are going to be posted online. It was a really, really successful weekend. One thing I got to say, the venue was decorated beautifully. We had big mural-size pictures of Anna Louise Strong, William Z. Foster, Huey Long, and Fred Hampton. I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I've tweeted them out. Beautiful pictures. All of us who attended the conference, all the members of CPI, wore big red scarves, matching red scarves. Many books were sold. Well over $1,000 of books were sold. I mean, people came in and we sold every single copy we had of the CPI manual. Other than my personal hard copy edition, we sold out of the CPI manual. This book was selling like hotcakes. That was great. Where is America Going? People were scooping up copies of that book. It was really, really a dynamic, special event. So many books were sold. Great opening ceremony. Great music from David Rovics. Great speeches all around. It was really, really excellent. And you're on the list, Tim. Good question. You're on the list. I'll be happy to answer that in the second half of the show. If anyone wants to do what Tim did, just send another super chat. We appreciate questions. So very moving. Now already since Saturday, 6 new members have joined the Center for Political Innovation. 6 of them have joined. The latest membership came in this morning. There were 4 people who joined on Saturday. There was somebody who joined on Sunday, and now we have yet another membership that just came in this morning. New memberships of CPI are rolling in, and we had a great event. We just had a really, really great event. Now, on Thursday, and I can't leave out Peter Coffin. Peter Coffin was an amazing part of this event, right? He chaired the second panel. He gave a hilarious comedy routine, and he was there. He's making a documentary about the whole thing. So Peter Coffin was there. Thursday, before the Friday event with Jyoti Brar, before the Saturday conference, Thursday we went around to 3 different college campuses in Portland, Oregon, to promote the Center for Political Innovation. And we had a big banner about Palestine, and we went to 3 different college campuses, and we marched through the streets of downtown Portland with a good crew of people. We unfurled our banner, massive positive reaction, people giving us thumbs up, people giving us fist signs. We just got so many leaflets and posters out. We got hundreds and hundreds of leaflets and posters out on Thursday because we were in the rain. It was rainy. It's a rainy city, Portland. It is a very, very rainy city, not a dry city. It's been pouring rain, but we've done some amazing, amazing things. In terms of the people who came out, there were Scott Ritter fans who came out, former U.S. military guys, big fans of Scott Ritter. They came out. One of them ended up joining the group. We have a new member who is a Scott Ritter fan. In addition to that, Terry Strange was there, the YouTuber. You've seen her on there. She's there. She came out. She's a YouTuber who we've been friendly with for a long time. She and a friend came. Terry was there. It was so great to see her there. And our membership turned out in really big numbers, right? From all over the country, our members were there. Timish, people that are in the chat right now. People that were in the chat right now. Timoshenko, John McCarthy. John McCarthy gave a great talk on the Uhuru movement. It was really, really an amazing conference, and I feel really, really good about it. 150 people is a pretty good turnout. That's pretty good. Is this the biggest event we've done yet? Kind of, right? There's one exception. And, in February, we did a reception after the Rage Against the War Machine rally, right? There was the National Rage Against the War Machine rally in Washington, D.C. And we had a reception afterwards. We provided free food, and we gave a platform to Scott Ritter, who was deplatformed. He was pushed out of the Rage Against the War Machine rally. So back in February, we had our own after party with Scott Ritter. And at the reception for Scott Ritter, there was about 160 to 200 people, but we were cheating, I will admit, because there was a huge anti-war protest in Washington, D.C., and we just kind of funneled people from the protest that was outside the White House to the hotel where we had our reception, which was right near there. And all day we were promoting it, and we gave people free food. So that one doesn't really count. We kind of cheated on that one, right? There was a crowd that was already assembled, and we just kind of funneled them to our event. But this was all us, right? These people had to drive. Oregon City is about 20 minutes outside of Portland, and we still had a good crew of 150 people. Seattle for Assange, great speaker from the Seattle for Assange movement. Shout out to Amber K from Seattle for Assange. She gave a great presentation about Julian Assange and supporting Julian Assange. Really good stuff. Wow, I just don't want to forget anybody. I mean, so much hard work went into this conference. There were people from California who came in for it. There were, there were people from Minneapolis, Milwaukee, number of people from Chicago. Olympia Logic was there, did great work. Wow. So many people came in and made this conference their own and really took this on. So much outreach went on. Christina was doing outreach like crazy, and and it was just a really amazing conference. It was our first national convention. I see Battle Cossack, you're on the list. We got 3 super chats now. Keep them rolling in. Give me something to talk about in the second half of our program. It was really, really great. It was really, really great. It was great on Thursday to walk through downtown Portland with our big pro-Palestine banner and see all the positive reception that we got. So many people honking their horns, thumbs up, giving us positive reactions. One stupid Thought Slime fan who was living in his phone, was being rude, and everyone else was looking at him like, what are you, a Zionist? Are you pro-Israel? It was no one had any clue about his online bullshit, and everyone else was giving us, a thumbs up and cheering for us. That was really, really great. We did our outreach on Thursday. We were going around downtown. Peter Coffin was there filming it. He did great video work. That was a tremendous breakthrough. Then Friday night, basically in a church basement, we had a special event for Jyoti Brar, because we figured if Jyoti is flying in all the way from Britain, we can't just have her speak for 25 minutes at the conference. We need Jyoti to give us a great talk, and she's started the World Anti-Imperialist Platform. She's doing such important anti-imperialist organizing now. We needed to make sure we gave her the opportunity to give a full-length presentation. And she did. Jyoti, Friday night, we had an event, and there was a number of people there, and Jyoti spoke for about an hour and a half. The video of that's going to be up on the web soon, about anti-imperialism, about the global Marxist movement, where it's at, the confusion. Dynamic presentation. At that event, we sang. The people's flag is deepest red. It shrouded off our martyr dead. Everyone knew the tune because it's Oh Christmas Tree. So we just printed out the lyrics, and as a group we sang, and ere their limbs grew stiff and cold, our heart's blood dyed its every fold. Then raised the scarlet standard high, within its shade we live and die. Though cowards flinch and traitors sneer, we'll keep the red flag flying here. And that was great. Everyone knew the tune. And then we closed the event by singing another old favorite. Whirlwinds of danger are raging around us. Overwhelming forces of darkness prevail. Still in the fight, see advancing before us, red flag of liberty that yet shall prevail. Then forward, ye workers, freedom awaits you. Oh, o'er the land and the sea. On with the fight for the cause of humanity. March, march, you toilers, and the world shall be free. Right? We sang Whirlwinds of Danger, another classic Marxist classic. That was Friday night. Amazing. Great stuff. So then all day Saturday we had the conference, and the conference was a lot of work setting up beautiful displays, mind you, right? So our member Elizabeth worked really, really hard. Our president Elizabeth, I should say, um, our president Elizabeth Young. You're on the list, Battle Cossack. You're on the list. Thank you for the super chat, and keep them rolling in. Give me something to talk about. Our president Elizabeth Young made these beautiful murals. Each of them took her 10 hours. She spent 10 hours on each of them, of these great American revolutionaries. Anna Louise Strong, Huey Long, William Z. Foster, Fred Hampton. Beautiful. We had big step and repeat murals with our logo on them. We had a map for people who could, point out where they came from. That was really, really great. We had a big display from Seattle for Assange. They brought about Julian Assange, about the conditions he's facing. The Party of Communists had a book table. Our good friend, one of our good friends who does a lot of, makes trinkets, he makes anti-imperialist trinkets. He had a table, and it was just really, really a great event. We had a nice lunch. Sandwiches were available for people to eat. That was really, really tremendous. It was just all around a good day. It was an all around good day. And I am so happy about what happened. This was a step forward for our organization. We had a national convention. So then the next day, right? Again, yeah, we just keep going, right? The next day, we gathered and we had a religious gathering for the founding of City Builder Ministries, which is a Christian organization aligned with the Center for Political Innovation. And that was a beautiful, small, intimate event. It was video recorded, and we had a small, intimate gathering. It was, a crew of CPI members who are also Christians, some of whom are Orthodox, some of whom are Catholic, some of whom are Protestant like me. And we opened with prayer, and then Elizabeth read from my letter to Bob Avakian, read the sections about religious faith. And then we had a discussion about what it means to be a Christian and how that fits in with being a communist and the kind of outreach we could do. And then we had a great summing up reception, right? We ate cookies, we talked. There was a whole crew of people there laughing and joking and talking about the plans of the organization. We discussed how successful the event was, ways that we could improve. We made a whole sheet of kind of advancing how to improve. Oh, that was really, really dynamic. Things are going really, really well. Now, today we had a small, very, very small gathering downtown. We unfurled a banner and had a bullhorn, and we did a little bit of street outreach in the name of the Uhuru movement downtown at Pioneer Courthouse Square. That's kind of that's where the big federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon is located. So we unfurled our banner. We had a protest to support the Uhuru movement outside of Pioneer Courthouse Square. That was really, really amazing. And so now we are getting ready for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're having a weekend workshop. So if you're in the area, you ought to come, right? You ought to be there. And I know a number of the folks that were at the conference this weekend are coming to the workshop. And I'm teaching some of the classes. Some of the classes are going to be taught by Elizabeth, and some of the classes are going to be taught by other people. And we're gonna give you kind of the basic introduction to what CPI is all about. You'll get to meet the community. It's going to be excellent, right? It's going to be really, really excellent. And this was just a really big step forward for our community, right? Is this the biggest event we've had yet? Kind of, like I said. The February 19th Rage Against the War Machine after party that we did was slightly bigger. But that we cheated because we brought the crowd from Rage Against the War Machine. But other than that, this was the biggest event we've ever done. It was. It was, and it filled up. When it first started, I was a little bit concerned about the turnout, but then in the middle, and I'm up in the front row, right? Because I'm paying attention to every speech. But I turned around during Scott Ritter's speech. I just turned, and the place had filled up, right? I was like, oh, wow, there's not an empty seat here, right? I was a little bit nervous when we started because it wasn't completely full when we started. But when I turned around, the place had filled up very, very well. There were a lot of people there. Syed Husseini gave a really powerful talk about Palestine. Jyoti Brar gave a really exciting talk about anti-imperialism and Palestine and Marxism, and many different members of our group did great things. Great things were done. This was a great, great event. David Rovics was on fire throughout the day, just doing what he does, being an anti-imperialist, giving beautiful beautiful music and opposing cancel culture and stuff. It was great. Now we're waiting for the hit piece to come out. There was one jackass who came, who was who was some kind of reporter. He was walking around trying to get people to say things that he could quote. And so we're waiting for his hit piece to come out. We're hoping that it comes out. And he was walking around saying, "Oh, I heard there's people from anti-war Oregon here. They're Republicans. Why would you work with a conservative? How can you support Russia?" And he was walking around trying to get people to say something. So we'll see if the hit piece comes out. We would appreciate the advertising. That would be awesome. Folks from the Platypus Affiliated Society came. I didn't even know that till afterwards. Shout out to them. I know they don't agree with us, but they have a perspective that is, they're interested in anyone who's talking about Marxism, and they were there. So that's interesting. So the Platypus Affiliated Society, shout out to them. Party of Communists was there in big numbers. They brought out their people. Chris Alulli, representing them, gave a very dynamic presentation. That was great. Chris Alulli was there, and PCUSA members helped out and were very essential in doing what they did. They came in from California. They came in from Seattle. Shout out to Joe from PCUSA, who drove down from Seattle, drove other people. Shout out to Joe. Shout out to Chris Alulli. That was really, really great. It was really, really a successful day, I would say. It was really, really a successful event. Between the music and the opening ceremonies and everything, wow, this was a great step forward for our organization. This was bigger than Austin. The first big public conference we had was in Austin. We had all these social media, whatever, people there. And that one might have gotten a little more press attention, but in terms of attendance, it was nowhere near this. We blew Austin out of the water. We blew Austin completely out of the water. We did a conference in Chicago about a year ago. That was only 75 people, and this one was double that. This was double the size of our Chicago conference, double it. So just there you go, right? The Summit Against Hypocrisy was about 75 people. We doubled the size of the Summit Against Hypocrisy. That was pretty dynamic and exciting. This was very, very amazing. Now, Peter Coffin is making a documentary film about the conference. So hold your horses and wait for the documentary film. We're going to start posting the talks, the speeches that people gave, the presentations, as soon as we possibly can. So that'll come a lot sooner. But Peter Coffin is making a film. He was following us around as we were practicing and setting up. He was following us around while we were, downtown Portland doing outreach. Peter Coffin, he was doing all kinds of stuff for this film he's making. We're doing like long form interviews with people, and Peter was great. His comedy at the beginning of the second panel was very funny. He's very good at what he does. We love Peter. Peter was there. Oh wow, Killian! Shout out to Killian in Milwaukee. Killian was great. He just killed it in his dramatic performances. He did a closing ceremony performance that was excellent. He did a dramatic performance at the end of the second panel that was excellent, and there were other people that were doing the acting. He was like narrating, dynamic, beautiful stuff. Olympia Logic chairing the opening panel, reading the Pledge of Unity, giving the organizational speech about everything that CPI has done this year. Amazing, dynamic. Syed Husseini, our Iranian-American friend who came all the way from California. He took the train. He gave an amazing speech about Iran and the Islamic Republic of Iran, what's actually happening there. Beautiful stuff, amazing. It was really, really great to have him there. Wow. I mean, I could go on all day, and I will. It was just so great. Rainer, shout out to Rainer Shea, the blogger, the anti-imperialist. He gave a great talk about the conditions that we're facing and the repression that we should expect. That was great. John McCarthy spoke about the Uhuru case and how important it is, and that was really, really great. Anti-war Oregon, Veterans for Peace. David Rovics. Noah, amazing talk on Trotskyism. Noah, that was great. So our member Noah, you remember Noah, right? He's in Boston. He's our member in Boston. And Noah, he chaired the third final session, and he gave an amazing speech about Trotskyism, where he got his chalkboard out. He went Glenn Beck style. He got the dry erase board out, and he was drawing and making, oh, that was great. And I mean, it rocked my socks off. I didn't see it coming. The way the Trotskyism talk went, awesome. Noah did a great job. Paul, shout out to Paul. You know, Paul was there representing the American Students Union. Paul from Indiana. Great work, Paul. Paul was there, and Paul made a great impression on everybody. Everybody loved Paul. Wow. You know, Gabby came in. She was part of the opening ceremony, and she was there. We love Gabby. If you're watching, Gabby, we absolutely love you. We were so happy. It was very last minute for you to be there, but you were there, and you were amazing. Oh man, there was just so much amazing stuff that happened. So much amazing stuff that happened. I don't know where to begin. I mean, I met some new people. I think I met people that I've never met before who are fans of the CPI and what we do. And I know some people want to remain anonymous, and so I'm going to protect their ability to do so. I'm not going to name everybody's name, I know, but there's a lot of CPI members that I haven't seen in a long time who I got to see. There's a lot of people who are fans and members of our community that I haven't seen in a long time who were there and did a great, great job. It was so great to have them there. Oh man, I mean, wow, I don't even know where to, wow, and it's like, I love how CPI, we play matchmaker, right? So Garland Nixon is our friend. I go on his radio show at least once a week, usually 2 or 3 times a week. He has a radio show called The Critical Hour with Dr. Wilmer Leon. He came to our Summit Against Hypocrisy in March. He met Jyoti Brar of the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninist. And he invited her on his show, on his radio program, and the two of them have become like good friends. Well, now Jyoti has made friends with Scott Ritter as well. I mean, we like play matchmaker here at CPI, right? We are the ones that informed Tara Reid about the Uhuru movement, and then she got the Uhuru movement on Glenn Beck's show. She got the Uhuru movement on Tucker Carlson's show. We have raised awareness about the Uhuru movement, and it's like we're bringing anti-imperialist forces together, and it's really, really awesome. It's really, really amazing. We were there, and this was, we're members, we were signatories of the World Anti-Imperialist Platform, and so, we're there representing not just ourselves, but 35 different communist parties from around the world, right? Including the Party of Communists of the United States, but also the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninist, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, the Nicaraguan FSLN, the People's Democracy Party of South Korea. We're there representing like real Communist Party of Argentina. What do you call it? The Pole of Communist Renaissance. The pole of communist revival of France. I mean, we're there representing, like a huge chunk of the global communist movement that supports Russia and China, and we're representing them. It was amazing. While our event was happening, a hit piece was published by the Solid Net, the fake communist parties that are led by the Communist Party of Greece, the what do you call it? The International Conference of Communist and Workers' Parties. They published an attack on World Anti-Imperialist Platform that specifically singled out the Center for Political Innovation while the conference was happening. Totally not an accident. And they claimed we're anti-immigrant, which is ridiculous. I mean, we've got immigrant members, for Christ's sakes. I mean, we are more pro-immigrant than anybody, right? I talked a lot about immigration and the American dream and what makes this country so unique in my closing remarks and all of that. Wow. This was just, it was like, and what was amazing was there were so many salt of the earth, working class Americans, veterans. There were a number of veterans who loved Scott Ritter because of his military analysis who came out. One of them joined the CPI, and we're so happy about that. And a number of vets were there, anti-imperialist veterans, people who fought in wars, people with military experience. In addition to that, there was activists, longtime activists, people that have been organizing for a long time. It was a very, very, very diverse group of people. Arab Americans, a number of Arab Americans. There was a Muslim, a guy who's a Muslim who is the owner of a construction company. And he came and he gave me a pamphlet about Islam. And he said, I'm so happy that you are doing this. And I got one of the leaflets. I had to come to this. And, you know, shook my hand. A Muslim American construction company owner came. He was there. That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, just many local trade union activists, people that are involved in their labor union organizations, people that, I mean, it was, I mean, wow. It was just a good crew of people that came, right? You know, a good crew of people that came to the Tumwater Ballroom for our event. I mean, every every ounce of money that was spent on this event was worth it by far, because we made a very, very successful gathering happen. And look at the pictures. Look at the pictures. They're out there. Wait until you see the videos. This was a step forward. This was a great, great, great step forward. We made a big point of highlighting the World Youth Festival, right? At one point, we unfurled the banner. We're all chanting, Sochi, 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 Sochi. That was really, really great. That was really, really awesome. Shout out to Alex Giovanni. You were there. Alex and Ashton were both there. That was really, really awesome. See Alex and Ashton out there, and Christina, who did so much outreach and did so much to help the event happen, and Sam, who can forget Sam Bismuth, right? Right, Bismuth Hertz. He was there, and he did a great job. He was helping. He introduced Jyoti on Saturday night, and he had a lot of good feedback and was engaging with guests, and that was really, really great. And oh man, so many great people. I mean, we have really assembled a really great crew of people, a really, really amazing crew of people that stand with Russia, stand with China, are patriotic, love their country, and oppose the imperialists. People who support the Uhuru movement in the face of FBI repression, people who stand with the Palestinians. Yeah, it was a great event all around. Just a dynamic, amazing conference. It was an amazing, amazing event. And I am so glad. Thank you to everybody who helped make it happen. You helped make a great thing happen. Something really, really great happened in Portland this weekend. And don't underestimate how important these things are, right? I mean, I tell you, look at our Chicago conference, which was much smaller, and the lasting impact that it had. Look at the Summit Against Hypocrisy and how that brought Jyoti Brora and Garland Nixon together. It connected them, and then that led to some great stuff happening there. This is the ripple effect of conferences like this is going to go on for quite some time. It's going to go on for quite some time, and it ain't over yet, right? I mean, we still got this weekend, right? Now we're trying to make sure that we get everyone together, and it's going to be small, intimate classes this weekend, right? The CPI is doing. I'm going to give the introductory course. The Saxton Lecture course, we're going to do like a new version of it. It'll be updated. It won't be the same thing that's on YouTube as the Saxton Lectures. It'll be a new version, and the discussion is going to be new and unique because it's going to be a new crew of people there. But we're going to do the introductory course, the 8-part course, the 8 classes to learn what CPI is all about. We're doing that this weekend in Portland. So sign up. Please sign up. Contact us. Send me an email, Twitter, DM, or whatever if you want to be there. We've already got a number of people signed up. How do you attend the classes? Just send me an email. Terry, I'm already in touch with you, so I'll let you know. I'll text you. The classes are public, available. We're doing Friday night, kind of a small gathering Friday night. Most of the classes are going to be on Saturday. We're going to have another meetup, gathering, group bonding activities on Sunday. Yes, I hope you're there, Terry. I want you there, and bring a friend or two. But just come yourself, because you will be great during the discussion period. It'll be great to have you there. If you want to give a class, Terry, you're free to give a class. If you're interested in giving a class, you could even do one, since you're local and you're definitely someone who's very learned in these topics. And if you're in the area, right? If you're in Portland, if you're in Washington State, Seattle, consider coming to the classes this weekend, because the thing was, this conference, there was so much going on at this conference, right? I mean, people that were there, I mean, you couldn't talk to everybody. I didn't even know the platypus people had come. I didn't know they were there because I was so busy running the conference. But I heard afterwards that they were there. I barely got to interact with the jackass journalist who's gonna write the hit piece. I didn't even get a he just like said hello to me and shook my hand, and that was it. I didn't get to he didn't get to ask me any of his jackass questions. I mean, I was, but this weekend, you will have an opportunity to really engage with people, right? This weekend, it'll be small, it'll be intimate, and you'll have an opportunity to just ask people questions. We are going to video it. So the video of these classes will go up. I mean, we're going to edit it, obviously. If you don't want to be on film, we can edit, we can edit that and make sure that your privacy is protected. But, we are marching ahead. We are marching forward as an organization, and this weekend is going to be more of an intimate kind of, getting to know you, ask tough questions, really just learn the essence of what we're all about anti-imperialism, Marxism, and the unique formulation, the ideological breakthroughs that define the Center for Political Innovation, that we refer to as the city building tendency, right? That's the basis of what we believe. We call ourselves the city building tendency, and we have some unique concepts and beliefs that help us explain the way the world has gone since the end of the 20th century, right? Since the fall of the Soviet Union and all of that, things have gotten a little more complicated, right? And so we have some unique ideological breakthroughs that we have developed that kind of define us as a tendency. Yeah, I mean, it's you'll get to learn all about it. And the Saxton lectures were kind of the first time I gave these classes, but they're much better now because we've done them a couple times. We did them in Kansas, and then we did them in Missouri this summer, and so this will be an updated version. And then, just FYI, I mean, I guess I'll just let you know, we got big plans coming up this spring. First thing first, right? We are definitely endorsing defeat the deep state. No question about it. We are endorsing that rally. We were at Rage Against the War Machine 1. We're going to be at Rage Against the War Machine 2. We are all about it, right? In addition to that, we're headed to Sochi, Russia for the World Youth Festival. We are going to Russia in March. We are headed to Sochi. Sochi or bust. We are going there for the World Youth Festival to stand with Russia. We are the official. I am the chairman of the U.S. delegation to the World Youth Festival. We're going there. We're going to be leading the delegation. We're in the process of formulating that delegation. Who's going to be there? It's going to be awesome. That's going to be amazing. And then in probably in May, maybe in April, but when we're back from the World Youth Festival, we are then going to have in Vermont, we have a new facility in Vermont that we have access to, a new lodge, basically. We are going to have a weekend workshop that won't be the Saxton lectures. It's going to be part 2, right? We are going to do another layer. Once you've had, this is the book, this is the textbook of CPI, right? The first textbook. We Are City Builders, the Center for Political Innovation Educational Manual. And we sold out every copy that we have this weekend. It sold like hotcakes, right? And this is the accompanying volume. This book goes along with the Saxton lectures, which are the talks that I gave, that are the introductory course. But we're going to have level 2 debut in Vermont this spring, right? Which is a whole new layer of classes that we are going to do, right? That cover all kinds of new material, and there's going to be a new textbook that goes with the new edition, the new classes. So level 2 of the classes is being rolled out this spring. I am writing the textbook over the holiday. I am going to spend the rest of December, I've already started, and January finishing volume 2. This is volume 1, and then we're going to have volume 2 that will be coming out. I'm not going to tell you the title or anything yet. You don't say the title yet until it's out, right? Can't tell you the title yet, but volume 2. This is volume 1, the first manual. We Are City Builders, the CPI Educational Manual. The next textbook, volume 2 of our educational program, is about to be released in this spring. I am so excited about that. We as an organization, we are doing a good thing. We are an ideological organization. We do a lot of activism. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, we were out in the streets for Uhuru today. We were out in the streets for Palestine on Thursday. We sponsored Rage Against the War Machine. So we do activism, but we are mainly focused on ideological, like educating people about communism and anti-imperialism and socialism and the synthetic left and why the synthetic left and the fake left, the woke people, they don't represent communism and what the anti-imperialist countries are all about but we are mainly an ideological group that is educating people, and we're about to have a second level of class material, right? With a second edition of the book and a second level of classes. So, it's going to be really, really great. So I want to thank everybody. So many of you gave contributions, and they all really helped because we needed all of them, right? I mean, and thank goodness we sold the books that we sold, or I probably wouldn't even be having a place to stay. We got a couple of us that are in town to help make the Portland workshop happen, and we're here at where we're staying because of the fact that we sold enough books that we could afford this. But if we hadn't sold those books, we would be out of money already. I mean, we spent every cent we got for this conference, right? We had much. And I'm proud of us. I'm really proud of us because, in the past, we got some very big contributions to do our Summit Against Hypocrisy. This time we didn't get huge contributions, right? We got bigger contributions. There's a couple individuals who gave bigger contributions. We didn't get any of the huge contributions that we got last time. This event was mainly funded, I will just say. The bulk of the money for this event came from people who gave $100, people who gave $200, people who gave $50, people who gave $5, right? This was like a Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders would be on there. The average contribution I received was only $3. It was like that this time, this event was paid for with $5 contributions, $20 contributions, $100 contributions, and that's amazing. That's amazing, and we're really happy about that because that shows that there's a base of people who really believe in this and really want to be part of it, and we put the money together. Now, shout out to the individuals who gave us bigger contributions, right? There are a couple people, who gave us bigger contributions, and we appreciate that, and we couldn't have done this without them. I mean, without those bigger contributions, we wouldn't have made it. So shout out to them as well. But it was very difficult to put the funds together for this. Let me just put it that way. Putting the funds together for this event was not easy at all, right? But we did it. And we had an amazing event. We had an amazing event, and I am so proud of us. I really, really am. So many people were there, and this was, it was really, really great. Oh, Lee Stranahan, he was there. Lee Stranahan spoke about Eugene Debs' case, and it was an amazing talk that Lee gave, and about how to engage with Republicans, and Lee was great. It was really great to see Lee. Shout out to Lee. Shout out to Lee's son, who was there. I got to meet, see Shane Stranahan, who used to be on Fault Lines Radio. He used to interview me on Fault Lines Radio. I got to meet him in person. Lee, it was so great to have you there. Thank you for your amazing speech about Eugene Debs. And Lee, it was so awesome to have Lee Stranahan there. Lee is great. Lee is just really, really great. And Lee was there. That was awesome. And, Garland and Scott and David Rovics and... oh my God, I can't name everybody, shout out to Peter, he's still here with me. He's in the other room. He can probably hear my voice now. Peter, who's doing video with us and he's been awesome, Peter. And oh my goodness, shout out to so many people, Oh, are you coming? Peter's going to come. Peter, say hello. Say hello. Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
You might want to go on the other side, I think.
Right.
Right. Come on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go. This is Peter, by the way. Peter's here doing video. He was great.
Hey, everyone. Just, oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, hey, Jenny. Just, gotta catch up on some work in the other room, but can't be here too long. But no, it was a great weekend. It
was really, really great. I'm really excited. Yeah.
So,
it was a really great weekend. And, I'm sitting here reveling in how awesome it was. Lee Stranahan's in the chat. Terry's in the chat. Some of the people that were there at the conference are in the chat. And, Yeah, this was a step forward for the group. Were there any thoughts that you had that you wanted to share?
Um, I mean, it was just great seeing everyone there. It was hey Ty, and everyone else, Briggy. It was great. It was great seeing everyone there, and the venue was great. The view of the river and the paper mill across the river was just gorgeous. Reminded me of the old. I was telling people, the old paintings of Williamsburg, Brooklyn, from like back in the early to mid 20th century, and when my grandparents were living there, by the way, and I mean, the energy was great. The obviously the people who talked were amazing, and I mean, I'm ready for more. I'm ready for the weekend workshop this coming weekend. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, we're doing the workshop. So, like I said multiple times, let me repeat myself. If you're in the Portland area, come to the weekend workshop. This will be a little bit of a different flavor. You'll really get to know people. You'll get to kind of chat with people, hang out, and ask tough questions and all of that. It's gonna be a great thing to do. So, if somehow you missed the actual conference, that's fine. Come to the weekend workshop. If you came to the conference and you liked it, come to the weekend workshop, get to know everybody better, deepen those ties. We got to build an anti-imperialist network. And it's really, really been great. So,
Yeah, we'll definitely forgive you for missing the conference if you come to the weekend workshop.
so there you go. There you go.
That's fine by
Yeah,
us.
and it's going to be small and intimate, the weekend workshop, but it's going to be good. And Peter's going to, video. We'll have high quality videos. Tyler was calling it. He said it's the Saxton Lectures, the Portlandia edition.
Oh,
So,
I love that reference way too much.
what is Portlandia? Is that a
Oh
movie?
no, it's a TV series
Okay.
on crap. What was the? It's a TV series done by Fred Armisen, who used to be on SNL, and Carrie Brownstein, who's a musician,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sketch comedy, and it's like really funny. I mean,
Okay.
it's very absurd. A lot of Portland references. I mean, someone I know who grew up in Portland said that it was done. Portland was done justice by the show,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's really funny.
Okay, well, I know it's rainy in Portland, and a lot of people ride bikes,
Hmm.
right? People ride bikes, bike people,
Yeah.
and it's raining a lot. I mean, it is certainly raining a lot. I mean, it's not a dry day. Has there been a dry day the whole time we've been out here?
Not since I've
We
been.
haven't had a dry day since we've been out here. I mean, it's just been raining nonstop. But it's good.
Yeah,
It's great.
like they make fun of the biker people, and that's the biggest reason why Peter referenced that during his panel.
I see. I see. Very good. Very good.
It was a great show, Portlandia, Jenny.
Yeah, 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 indeed. All right, so why don't we do the roll call? You're not going to help me call names?
All right, fine.
Oh, you're going to help me call names? All right. Names and locations, folks. Names and locations. Peter and I will call you out as we see you. Names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Names and locations. We got Carl the Trinket Man in Washington. Carl the Trinket Man.
So I'll do the next one.
All right. Oh.
Jenny in Cincinnati.
Mark Jones in Utica, New York.
Nate in Chicago.
John McCarthy in Chicago.
Tyler falling asleep in Missouri.
All right. Cleveland Pirate Alex.
All right, Bob Troy, New York. See you a lot.
All right. Very good. Very, very good. Dan in Pasadena, California. All of the Los Angeles are really ha ha ha. All right. Go ahead.
Balthazar in Oakland.
The Deport Empire. Barry in the Deport Empire. All right. All right. Is that like deport, like you deport somewhere, or is it like deport? I'm in Deport Empire. I don't know. But anyway,
Alex from Brazil.
Alex from Brazil is with us tonight. Welcome, Alex.
And to answer your question, Alex, yeah, we are pretty tired.
Yeah. Marcus in Canada.
Briggy in PA. Hey.
Shout out to you, Briggy. Good to have you, Funky Lollipop. Patrick in Maine is with us. Welcome, Patrick. Good to have you always.
All right, Tyler.
Tyler is saying he's going to go get some sleep. Go sleep, Tyler. You got some kids to teach. You got some kids to take care of at home. You got a full plate, as they say. So go ahead and rest. Nothing wrong with resting. But we're having a great time out here in Portland, right? And we got many more to come. This is great. This is awesome. Good times. Good times. Chris in Salt Lake City. Chris in Salt Lake City is with us. Shout out to you, Chris. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Names and locations. Names and locations. Make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button and the notifications bell. That would be a good thing to do, right? Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notifications bell. Agustin Garcia Joffre, the name of Gonzalo, was linked to a Peruvian Maoist guerrilla. Who's the guy beside you, Caleb? Well, this is Peter. This is Peter. Lumpia doesn't know who you are.
I never met Lumpia.
Never met Lumpia before.
Never heard the name in my life.
There we go. Yeah. Moonlight Beach, California. Scott S. Very good. Oh, Matches is there. Hi, Matches.
Hey. Never met you yet, but
you'll meet Peter. He's in our neck of the woods a lot. So there you go. Yeah. Names and locations. Anybody else? Yay, Matches is watching. That makes me so happy. I miss you, Matches. I miss you, my darling. So good to have you. So good to have you.
Doing the roll call is fun. You're just kind of waiting for the comment and
yeah.
Hopefully someone says their location and as instructed.
Yep. Good times. Good times. Names and locations. Names and locations. Anybody else? Names and locations. Names and locations. Anybody else? See if a couple other names come, and then I'm going to start answering these super chats. All right, we got a few, but keep the super chats rolling in. Oh, Randall Wilson in Lexington, Kentucky.
And then there is Mina Flowers in California.
Oh, Mariah in North Carolina. Shout out to you, Mariah.
Matches in New York.
Matches is in New York.
Happy to announce that one.
Very good. Very good. All right. All righty. Okay, so now I'm going to start answering people's super chat questions. All righty. All right, and keep the super chats rolling in, folks. Give me something to talk about here in our second half. We're entering the second half of our show. I'm going to start answering people's super chat questions. First super chat question comes from Tim Baller. Tim Baller. And Tim Baller says, is it racist to critique the philanthropist Soros? Well, I'm not sure I would categorize Soros as a philanthropist. The term philanthropist refers to somebody who donates to charity, and George Soros is much more than that. George Soros funds political causes for his own ends. So I wouldn't categorize that as philanthropy. But I don't think that it is racist or anti-Semitic to critique George Soros because George Soros does not represent all Jews, right? He is a Hungarian man of Jewish descent who is a liberal, right? And I don't care that he's Jewish at all. I don't care anything about that. But every time I mention his name, people immediately go, "That's anti-Semitic," and so but I don't think it's anti-Semitic because. Look, George Soros is a vehement anti-communist. He funded all kinds of dissident movements to overthrow the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc. He was heavily involved in destabilizing Czechoslovakia, destabilizing Hungary, where he's from, destabilizing Poland, and, he funds destabilization campaigns all over the world. And he's made a lot of money through manipulating currencies. Currency manipulation has been the main way he makes his money. So it's not just that he hates communism, and it's that he has like a material interest in manipulating the currencies in order to make money. George Soros is not a good dude. And one thing that drives me crazy is that the right wing, the far right wing, the new right, they claim that George Soros is a communist. George Soros is not a communist in any conceivable way. He's just not a communist. He's an anti-communist. He overthrew various communist governments. He's the guy who had a lot to do with overthrowing the Soviet Union. He overthrew, he helped set the stage for overthrowing the government of Libya. He funds dissident, protest movements that are aligned with the CIA that destabilize countries. And so all these right-wingers that think he's a communist have no idea what they're talking about. And all these leftists who just go anti-Semitic every time you mention his name are doing a great disservice because we should know who he is. We should talk about who he is, right? And, but they don't want to talk about who he is because they want to shut down conversation. They want you to be stupid and they want you to be a liberal, right? Well, no, we should study the fall of the Soviet Union, why it happened, and George Soros is a big part of that. He was one of the manipulative elements that helped bring down the Soviet Union. And there's nothing wrong at all with talking about George Soros. So that is my position. You can talk about George Soros in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, all day long. You can talk about George Soros, right? If you start saying that the problem is Jews or it's the international Jewish conspiracy, then you're going to have a problem with me, because I don't believe in any form of racism or bigotry. I don't think, that's the issue. George Soros is a bad dude because he helped overthrow the former Soviet Union, because he manipulates politics. He's one of the more liberal and Europe-oriented figures. He's a main backer of the International Criminal Court. He's one of the main people backing the ICC. Every single person that the ICC has convicted, the International Criminal Court, every single one they've convicted has been African. Did you know that? They have not convicted a single white person. They've not convicted a single Asian person. They've not convicted a single Latin American person. Every person that has ever been convicted by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has been an African. And the U.S. government rejects the International Criminal Court for its own reasons, because they don't want U.S. troops to be accountable, right? There's actually U.S. law that says that if a U.S. soldier were to be taken to the International Criminal Court, the USA would have the right to invade and bomb and carry out military strikes against The Hague. Another super chat from Battle Cossack. Very good. So, the USA is totally hypocritical about the International Criminal Court. And the International Criminal Court is an awful, awful entity. It's very corrupt. So, yeah, there you go.
Was Krajic, or however you pronounce his name, and like the other Yugoslav, like, were they not like?
That was the International Criminal Tribunal on Yugoslavia before
that's right.
before the International Criminal Court was founded. That was like a predecessor to the International Criminal Court.
That's right.
All right. Oh, looks, one of our other guests is here. Hey, we're live streaming here. How you doing? Yeah. Do you want to say hello?
I will.
All right. Our other guest, one of our other people who's staying with us here in Portland, another CPI member is here. She's going to jump on in a little bit. But we're just answering people's questions. So that's the first question. It's from Tim Baller. He says that, Gabby's here. Oh my God. Hey, Gabby. Shout out to Gabby. She's in the chat.
Hey, Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. Oh, wow. That's so great. And, so nothing wrong with talking about George Soros. Nothing wrong with talking about his negative role. It's not racist. Next question. Why doesn't China have universal health care? That points to an interesting question. What is universal health care? Right? And this is a really common mistake that I see a lot of people make. Right? There are many different healthcare systems in the world. Okay? Universal health care means that every person has health insurance. That's what it means. Right? Every person has health insurance. It's universal. Everyone has health insurance. We don't have that in the United States right now. We have a situation where if you don't have health insurance, you pay a fine. You pay like $1,000 in your taxes. You get a tax penalty. But universal health care doesn't mean health care is free. It just means that there is, that it is universal, that everyone's insured. In Canada, they have what's called single payer, which means that there is a state insurance company. There's no private insurance companies, right? That's single payer healthcare. That's what they have in Canada. In Britain, they have what's called national healthcare, which means that the hospitals are all government owned and the doctors are all government employees. They don't have that in Canada, but they have that in Britain. But there's another system, in addition to the national healthcare system that they have in Britain, the single payer system they have in Canada, universal healthcare, which is something that just means everyone has insurance, which we don't even have that here in the United States. There's something else called socialist healthcare, and that's very different. Socialist healthcare is a healthcare system that is set up in the process of a socialist planned economy. And they have that in China. In China, the state controls and regulates and has set up the healthcare system. And they do have that in China. It's not like in Cuba where the healthcare system is completely like you don't pay anything. In China, you do pay for healthcare services, but the costs are regulated and controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. There are private healthcare companies that do make a profit, but they are heavily regulated and controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. And yes, in China, when you go to see a doctor... Am I back? All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to switch with the Wi-Fi. But anyway, in China, the hospitals are sometimes government-owned and sometimes private. but they are all heavily controlled by the Communist Party. In China, the government controls the hospitals, whether they're private or public, and it regulates the cost. And generally in China, people don't have health insurance. They don't generally have health insurance, but you do pay at the point of service when you go to the doctor. Just like here, even if you have insurance, you have what's called a copay, right? When you go to the doctor, I have insurance, but when I go to the doctor, just for going to the doctor, I still have to pay $25, $50, whatever your copay is based on your insurance plan. Sometimes it's $100, sometimes it's $200, just depends, right? Well, in China, you do pay for your healthcare at the point of service, and there are some private companies that make profits involved in the healthcare system, but it is done in the context of a state centrally planned economy. So you could really argue, that's a totally different context, right? And this is what people don't get, right? You have forms of healthcare in a capitalist model where you have like national healthcare in Britain, or you have single payer like you have in Canada, or you have, a private healthcare system like you have in the United States with HMO, insurance providers. You have all of that. And then when you have healthcare in the context of a socialist society, even if there are private market mechanisms involved, it's not the same thing because those private market mechanisms are not in power. Right? And that's what you need to remember. No company in China has the power to do what it wants. The Communist Party can tell any private company to do anything at any time. They have no private property rights. At any point, the government can come in and say, nope, nope. And actually, Nathan Rich, I really love Nathan Rich. Nathan Rich has a great video debunking a piece about the Chinese healthcare system because the New York Times, I have noticed, is obsessed with trying to get Americans who are socialistic or interested in socialism to hate China. That is their obsession. Anytime one of these young neo-Maoists in China who hates the Chinese government and thinks they're like neo-Maoists gets arrested, anytime that happens, they immediately they do a story on it, right? And, they are obsessed with, and they know that healthcare is really important to Americans who believe in socialism. So they published an article that was just full of lies about the Chinese healthcare system, trying to say, oh, well, in China, the healthcare system is so bad. And Nathan Rich debunked it point by point by point. He just took it apart. And he showed that, at one point, there was a line of people outside a hospital in this video. And they said, oh, all these people are lined up because if you want to see a doctor in China, you have to get in line. Well, it turned out all those people were lined up because they didn't want to see a regular doctor. They wanted to see a specialist, and they wanted to have a same-day appointment. So the only reason those people were in the line was because if they had wanted to see a regular doctor, they would have been able to go see one right then. And if they had wanted to make an appointment with a specialist, they could have called in to make an appointment. But they were in line to see a specialist on the same day. And they obscured that in the piece. They made it look like, oh, you just have to wait in line if you want to see a doctor in China. Look how horrible that is. It was a lie, right? And that he just showed, and they intentionally mistranslated, the people. The subtitles they put underneath these people was awful. Nathan Rich, check out his work. He lives in China. He's an American who lives in China, has done great work, and he debunked some of the bullshit out there about China's healthcare system. So Tim, you're asking why they don't have universal healthcare in China. They do, in a way. They don't have health. It's not like the United States where everyone's insured. They don't have insurance in China. But in China, if you want to see a doctor, you can. That was one of the first things that they did in China with the Chinese Communist Party when they came to power, is they launched the Barefoot Doctor Program. And they sent these doctors to the remote rural areas of China where there had never been a doctor, ever. These villages had never had a medical professional ever come to them in thousands of years. And it was because of the Chinese communists that these doctors just showed up in these villages, the Barefoot Doctor Program. And since then, they've built all kinds of new hospitals and all of that. And when you go to a hospital in China, if it's a government hospital or a private hospital, you pay. You pay at point of service. You pay like a copay or something like that. But the government makes sure that these prices are affordable. It makes sure that when you go to the doctor, the cost that you pay, and you do pay, it's not just free, your copay or whatever, it makes sure that the copays can't get out of control. It regulates the private manufacturers of drugs and such. So, China has a socialist healthcare system, a healthcare system that exists as part of their state-planned, socialist, centrally planned economy. That's the way, and that's what you need to remember. And that that this is, the reason I love to give this speech here is because there's a lot of confusion, right? People think people think Obamacare was socialist healthcare. That wasn't even universal healthcare. It wasn't even government control of healthcare, right? But there's universal healthcare, there's national healthcare, there's single payer healthcare, and then there's socialist healthcare. And these are four distinctly different things. Four different things, okay? So, I'm going to repeat it one more time just so everyone remembers this, because I want everyone to know this, right? There are four different things that are completely different when it comes to healthcare. One, universal healthcare. That just means everyone has insurance. That's all that means. Everyone has health insurance, meaning that everyone pays for private insurance, everyone's insured. And it could be private, it could be free market, whatever. It just means everyone's paying for insurance. That's the first one, universal healthcare. Two, single payer, which is what they have in Canada, means the government is the single insurance provider. There's only one insurance, and it comes from the government. That's what they have in Canada. Three is national health care, which is what they have in many countries in the world. Britain is a great example, but many other countries where the government owns the hospitals, where it's just like you have a post office, a postal service, you also have a health service. After World War II in Britain, they set up a national health service. Just like we have a postal service, they also had a health service, right? That's third, and that's under capitalism, when the government, nationalizes and manages healthcare under capitalism as part of the welfare state. And then number four is socialist healthcare, which is healthcare that exists as part of a socialist centrally planned economy, not a welfare capitalist economy, not a capitalist economy where the government intervenes and regulates one field, but healthcare that is part of a socialist economy, which sometimes includes private market mechanisms, right? But it's different because the government controls private corporations in a socialist planned economy. Market socialism can mean that there are people making profits, there's private companies, but at any time the state can come in and tell them what to do. The state controls the prices, the state tells them where to build. So it's not the same thing. And that's what you need to remember. And that socialist healthcare, the way they did it in the Soviet Union, the way they did it in Cuba, the way they did it in China with the Barefoot Doctor program, and then now the way they do it now, every socialist society is going to manage healthcare a little bit differently based on their objective circumstances, I think China has been able to really build up its healthcare system because they have a huge population. That's 1 billion people in China, right? 1 billion?
Yeah, I believe isn't it like about 2 almost?
Oh, 2 billion, right. Well, I mean, the Chinese population is massive. The Chinese population is massive. In order to get hospitals for all of those people, they needed to utilize foreign investors. They needed to utilize, private corporations that would invest and make profit under the management of the Chinese state, right? They couldn't just build it all by themselves, right? And so they utilized the market to create kind of a mixed healthcare system that's part of their socialist planned economy. But I'm repeating myself. It's just a pet peeve of mine, so I wanted to answer that. Thanks, Tim Baller, for your super chat. I hope that was helpful. Next question is Alejandro Cao de Buenos from the Korean Friendship Association got arrested for his support of People's Korea. I heard about this, and I heard he was released. What's the latest on that case, right? So the Korean Friendship Association, right, is a group of people that around the world, in different countries, who are friendly to North Korea, right? That is my understanding. And the leader of them in Spain got arrested. He got arrested. In Spain, there was some talk of extraditing him to the United States, but I heard that was like they released him or something. I heard it was released, or I heard some different things. So is there a new update on that case? Right, I see 15 hours ago he was arrested. I know he's wanted by the FBI. They're claiming, that he did wire fraud or some shit. I mean, it's just, the USA, I mean, what does this guy have to do with America? He's a Spanish guy who does business with North Korea. Spain and North Korea have diplomatic relations. Franco, I mean, he was a fascist or whatever, but he made diplomatic relations with North Korea. And Spain and North Korea do business, right? And that's nobody's fucking business. It has nothing to do with America. But the way the USA enforces these bullshit sanctions laws is they say, well, we have the right to make it illegal for anybody to do business with North Korea. No, you don't. No, he lives in Spain. Spain's friendly to North Korea, and he does business with North Korea. That has nothing to do with America, right? And that this is why this is Alex Saab case in Venezuela, a Venezuelan citizen that has diplomatic immunity is doing business with Iran, and America says, oh, but bullshit. It's none of your fucking business, right? If a Spanish guy wants to do business in North Korea, it has nothing to do with America. Butt out. Butt out, right? It has nothing to do with the United States. So free Alex Saab. Drop the charges against Alejandro de Buenos, Cao de Buenos. Drop the charge. The USA thinks that it can grab anybody, anywhere in the world, because it doesn't like their bank transactions or whatever. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And the way these financial laws work, it looks like they can just grab anybody at this point, right? There's a book called 3 Felonies a Day that talks about if you're a professional in the United States, you commit on average 3 felonies a day. They can get you for anything, right? If you're a professional, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, in America, they can get you for anything. So it's bullshit. It's bullshit, right? It's bullshit, and they should release him. And the USA thinks it can just grab anybody anywhere in the world. It's bullshit, it's bullshit. So there you go. This is what they did to the Chinese, the woman who was the chief financial officer of Huawei Technologies. They grabbed her in a similar way. They held her in Canada for years, and it was some banking bullshit. It was like they claimed that when she filled out some bank forms, she didn't say that some company that was doing business in Iran, blah, blah, blah. None of America's fucking business. But Chinese company wants to do business with America, has nothing to do with America, and I mean, it's the same old story. Same old story. So that whole thing against Alejandro, I don't even know the details, and I know it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. And I know it's none of America's business, and they should drop the charges, release him immediately. All right. And I don't know, are they extraditing him? What's going on? But drop the charges. It's all bullshit. All right. All righty. Next question is from Battle Cossack. And he's asking, where do the terms Nazbol and Pat Sock originate? Okay, well, the term Nazbol refers to a political party in Russia that no longer exists. After the fall of the Soviet Union, oh, thank you, John, you're on the list. After the fall of the Soviet Union, there was the Russian Communist Party. It was the party that was against the fall of the Soviet Union, right? And it was the Communist Party of the Soviet Union was illegal, but they formed a new party called the Communist Party of the Russian Federation. The leader was Gennady Zyuganov. And they ran in the elections in 1996, and many people, it looks like they won the election. It looks like they only lost because of election fraud, but they just didn't have the ability to motivate people to go out and fight for them, right? Because they were associated with the Soviet Union, because they were seen as kind of this stodgy old party of, they were the party of Brezhnev and the party of Gorbachev, and they were seen as a party of old folks, a party of old people, a party of, people that it was, the Communist Party just didn't have energy to it. So because of that, Edward Luminov, who was a punk rock novelist, very well-known punk rock novelist in Russia. He was from the punk generation. He wore leather jackets, and he was, really into the alternative music scene. Edward Luminov and Alexander Dugin. Alexander Dugin is a Russian political scientist. The two of them quit the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, and they formed a new party that they called the National Bolshevik Party. And the National Bolshevik Party was supposed to be a new update of the Communist Party of Russia that was more exciting. It was young people, and they wore leather jackets, and they were radical and whatever. And that was called the National Bolshevik Party, the Nazbol Party. And the Nazbols were considered, and in Russia, and I've been to Russia, and I've talked to people about this, they were considered to be a leftist party, right? They are considered to be a party that was of the left. They were just another communist party. there was an element of Russian nationalism, but the Communist Party does that too. Zhuganov, he has Russian nationalism in his rhetoric, and he's the leader of the Communist Party. Russia is a country that was under the grip in the 90s of the imperialists, right? And they were looting the place. And so Russian nationalism was a really big part of their perspective, right? As they're fighting, against imperialism and talking about what's the crimes against the Russian people, etc. There's going to be a lot of Russian nationalism, and so whatever. The Nazgul Party was eventually outlawed in 2007 because their protests got violent. There was some violent protests, there was some street fights, and they would get into scuffles with other political parties and stuff like that. And eventually in 2007, they got outlawed. The Russian government said there was too many crimes that they were committing and stuff. They were outlawed. So then then Edward Luminov, the punk rock novelist, he started his own party that still exists. It's called The Other Russia. And so that was The Other Russia. And then Alexander Dugin, he started his group, which is like a think tank. It's called the Eurasian Movement. So, yeah, the National Bolshevik Party doesn't exist anymore. It was dissolved in 2007 by the Russian government. But there's The Other Russia, which is, started by Edward Luminov, who just died. And then there's the Eurasian Movement that's led by Alexander Dugin. I don't know what to say about it. I've met Alexander Dugin. I met his daughter a number of times. I only met him once. I respect Alexander Dugin. He's become more of a traditionalist conservative. He was kind of a Marxist back in the day when he was running the National Bolshevik Party, when he was in the Russian Communist Party. And he wrote the Constitution and the founding documents of the Russian Communist Party. But he's now more of a conservative, a traditionalist conservative, but he's a very important and well-respected anti-imperialist voice. And I respect Alexander Dugin, don't agree with him, especially on the question of historical progress and some other points, but I respect him. I'm really proud that I got the opportunity to meet with him and have a joint event with him to discuss politics. I would do it again. I have no shame whatsoever about meeting with him. There was nothing wrong with him. And he is not a Nazi, and he's not a fascist, and the stupid internet hysteria around that is just based in ignorance and Russophobia. So that's where the word National Bolshevik comes from. Now, PATSOK. PATSOK is just a stupid internet thing, right? I have emphasized that socialists need to be patriotic, right? That we need to make clear to the American people that we love our country. We don't support racism. We don't support slavery. We don't support imperialism. We don't approve of the U.S. military and what it does. We certainly don't like the government of the United States. It's just a front for the big corporations. But we want socialism because it'll make America a better country. If everyone here had jobs, everyone here had health care, we were organizing society to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few, we could have a better country. And the woke left doesn't give that message. Their message is, rah, rah, we're angry, we hate this country, they burn the American flag, etc. And a lot of Americans are put off by that. Because of that, they hear, they see the left and they think, well, I love my community. I love my neighborhood. I don't like violence. I love my family and all of that. So I don't want to be a socialist. Well, we need to change that. So we need to say that we are patriots. We're not nationalists. Nationalists are people that first of all, America is not a nation. We're not a nation state. We're a multinational country. So you can't be a nationalist, but we're not nationalists. We're not chauvinists. We don't go around saying, this is the greatest country in the world. I hate that, right? I've heard that my whole life. It's American chauvinism. People going around going, this is the greatest country that's ever existed. It's a rude, and I remember I was in high school one time. I was at an event, and I was arguing with somebody about communism. They said to me, well, America's the greatest country in the world. And I said, how? I said, what do you mean? How is it the greatest country in the world? I mean, what do you mean? We're the richest country in the world. We have the most, give me a criteria. And this person's jaw dropped. And they were like, what? You don't think America's the greatest country in the world? They were just in shock. You must be brainwashed because everybody knows that America's the greatest country in the world. Oh my God. Well, that's chauvinism. When you're going around saying that your country's better than other countries, that's chauvinism. It's despicable, right? We oppose any form of chauvinism, right? But to say that we're patriots just means that we want a good outcome for the country in which we live. We want things in America to get better, right? And that we love our community. We love the people of this country. We oppose the government, right? That's just basic, right? If you're a communist and you're trying to become the leader of Brazil, you don't say fuck Brazil. If you're a communist and you're trying to become a leader of Spain, you don't say fuck Spain. You're a communist and you're trying to become the leader of India, you don't say fuck India. But for some reason in America, there's this rule that somebody made up in the 60s that says if you're a communist in America, you have to burn the flag and you have to make clear to everyone that you don't love the country and that you're not patriotic. Get rid of that. Get rid of that, right? Get rid of that. If you're serious about politics, you make clear that you want to make the lives of the people in the country that you are in better. That's just basic, just pretty basic. And the problem is that in America, for the longest time, communism has been the ideology of people that are alienated from society. Because America's whole identity is opposing communism. Communism only appeals to people who are like, well, I don't fit in with this country. I'm fringe, I'm marginal. And we got to get past that. If we're going to win, we have to make clear that we are an expression of feelings and sentiments that have always been here in America. Among the suffragists who fought for women's right to vote, for the labor unionists who fought for the rights of workers on the job, for the people that protested the Vietnam War, for great people like Eugene Debs who went to prison for opposing the war. That we represent the abolitionists, John Brown and Harriet Tubman. We are the progressive spirit that has always existed on these shores, and we are just as much a part of the history of this country, just as much a part of the history of this country as the reactionaries and war makers. And socialism in America, it's not going to be the USA collapsing. It's not going to be the USA, adopting a foreign ideology. Socialism in America is going to be when that progressive side of American history, that suffragist and labor unionist and anti-racist, that Martin Luther King Jr., abolitionist, John Brown side, Eugene Debs side of American history takes power. That's what socialism is going to be. And it's very indigenous to this country. There's always been here. There's always been progressive people in this country. And we have just as much right to say that we love this country and that we are part of this country as the reactionaries do. And that it's a huge mistake to hand over what it means to be an American to somebody else. And to say, oh, well, American identity, what it means to be an American, that belongs to the Democrats. That belongs to Joe Biden. That belongs to Donald Trump. And we communists, we're not going to, you can have it, guys. No, we need to claim our place in America's history. That is what patriotic socialism means. And that's what communists always do. In every country in the world, that's what communists do. That's what the Communist Party did in the 1930s when it was popular. That's what the Communist Party did during the McCarthy period. That's what William Z. Foster and Gus Hall did. So it's not a thing. There's no such thing as patriotic socialism. All real socialism is patriotic. Stupid people on the internet who don't matter decided that they were going to make a hysteria about pat socks. Pat socks. And they made up this word, pat socks. And it was this thing. And it's just stupid, right? It's idiotic, right? There's no such thing as patriotic socialism because all socialism is patriotic. There is something called the synthetic left, which was started by the American government, Congress for Cultural Freedom, the CIA drug mind control programs, and they invented this whole new form of leftism that somehow rejects patriotism. And we reject that. But there's nothing special about patriotic socialism. We're just doing what socialists and communists do all over the world and saying that we want to represent the working people of our country. That's what we're about. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Do you want to come on?
Absolutely.
Oh, here comes Corellia, our friend Corellia. Oh, you want to come this side? You want to come to this side? Yeah, this is Corellia also. She's a CPI member. She's here. Say hi to everybody, Corellia.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hi. So what do you think, Corellia?
I think that the capitalist system is not in favor of the working class.
I agree.
Working class are the one produce all the benefits for the rich, which are the one are in control right now in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the working class doesn't get any benefits at the end. We have to pay a lot for housing, a lot for education, and the working class, the salaries are very low, and the taxes increase and increase and increase every time. So it's not a it's not a good formula. It's a formula for them, for the rich class. So doesn't work for us.
I agree. Very good. Well, do you have any thoughts about the conference that just happened this weekend?
Well, the conference was marvelous. The journalist that I don't remember his name, the first journalist that speech,
Scott Ritter?
right? And the guitar player was fantastic. Also, the performance that was done for the at the end for Kirley and the other members, the CPI, was very educative.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
I love it.
Great. Well, thank you. Anything else you want to say?
No, say hi to everybody and
Hey.
see you soon.
All right, great. Thanks,
Bye.
Corellia. It was
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Corellia. It's always good to have members here jump on. So just wanted to give Corellia a chance to come on and share her perspective. Great job. Great job. Thank you. All right. So now I answered about the patriotic socialism. So now Venezuela is considering attacking Guyana over oil. Does this go against communist principles? No. No, because you have to understand what's really going on there. That, what you just said there, that's the version of events that is presented by American mainstream media, right? What actually happened is that the map, the borders of Guyana and Venezuela were drawn by the British imperialists. Guyana used to be a British colony, right? Venezuela, the area that is now Venezuela, used to include a very big chunk of what is now called Guyana. But the British Empire sent its military and changed the border and seized a whole bunch of Venezuela for themselves. And Guyana used to be part of the British Empire, right? They speak English there. They don't speak Spanish in Guyana because it was formerly a British colony. And the British Empire wanted oil, so it seized a big chunk of what is now Venezuela. Well, Venezuela is now a socialist country, and it's led by Maduro. Hugo Chavez was the first socialist leader. It's led by Maduro. And the U.S. imperialists have been vicious to Venezuela because Venezuela has so much oil, and they're competing on the international markets with Wall Street. Everybody who buys oil from Venezuela doesn't buy it from ExxonMobil and BP and Shell and Chevron. And Guyana is not a socialist country. Guyana is under the control of the imperialists. And that big chunk of Venezuela that was stolen by the British Empire, the people who live there are Spanish-speaking people, but they live under the government of Guyana, which is, a tool of the imperialists. And the people who live there also don't get any benefit from their oil because the oil in that chunk of Venezuela that now belongs to Guyana is owned by Shell Oil, the Wall Street corporation that is raking in profits while the people there are very, very poor. And so basically what Maduro wants to do, he took a vote. They took a vote as a country, and the people of Venezuela have voted that they say that they want to make that chunk of Venezuela that is now Guyana, they want to make it Venezuela again, and they want the oil that is there to be made state property like the oil is in Venezuela, so that the people living in those regions that are now impoverished because Wall Street is making all the money off of their oil will benefit from it. I bet you didn't know this, but when Hugo Chavez was elected president in 1999, Venezuela had only 12 public universities. Do you know how many they have now? 32. 32. They went from 12 universities to 32. 20 new universities were built by Hugo Chavez. When Hugo Chavez was elected president in 1999, about 20%, 1 in 5 people in the country couldn't read. Now there is no illiteracy in Venezuela. The UN actually gave Venezuela an award because they wiped out illiteracy. When Hugo Chavez was elected, there were millions of people in Venezuela who'd never seen a doctor in their lives. And now all over Venezuela, they have healthcare clinics where Cuban doctors are there, and people can just walk in and get healthcare for free from Cuban doctors. Right? And how did they pay for all of this? Oil. The oil of Venezuela used to be the property of American companies. It was technically nationalized but it was really under the property of American companies. Well, when Hugo Chavez got elected, he made the Venezuelan oil actually state property. And with that money, he brought the Cuban doctors in, he brought the Cuban literacy volunteers in, he built the new universities, he built highways and bridges. I've seen it. I have walked through central Caracas, neighborhoods in central Caracas, where every single house was built by an interest-free loan provided by the Venezuelan government. And people who used to live in shacks without running water and electricity now have modern homes with lights and running water and all of that because of Bolivarian socialism, right? You have no idea. They have a housing boom in Venezuela. They have built over 1 million free housing, low-income housing for people. They're doing amazing things. Now, the food crisis was brought on by the United States, and Venezuela is a huge oil exporting country, and so the imperialists have done everything they can to crush them and hold back their development. And so now Venezuela wants to fight back. And we say these big international oil companies based in Wall Street in London, Shell, ExxonMobil, BP, and Chevron, those big corporations, that are trying to crush Venezuela, they're right on our border. And they are making super profits off of a chunk of what is actually Venezuela that the British stole from us in the 1800s. And the people who live there are Spanish speaking and identify with Venezuela, and they're not getting any benefit from the oil that is under their feet. And so we're going to go make this chunk of Guyana that was stolen from Venezuela back into Venezuela, so the people there, the people living there, can actually benefit from their natural resources. I think that's a great thing. I think that's a great thing to do. I do not respect the British Empire. This country, America, was founded for the very thing that Venezuela is trying to do, is so that the people of this country could have control of their own economy. The British were doing the same thing to us back in the 1770s. They were trying to tell us, well, we couldn't control our own resources. We had to buy our tea from them. We had to, pay stamp taxes to them. We couldn't set up our own businesses and our own corporations. We had to just import everything from them. We just had to be their trading hub, their outpost. They got all of our fur and all of our timber and all of our natural resources, and we just had to stay poor. And we had a war called the American Revolution so that we could control our own economy. Well, now it looks like the people in a big chunk of Guyana that used to be part of Venezuela are doing the same thing. And I don't see anything wrong with that, right? And the ultimate benefit, the main beneficiaries of this action would be the people of this region of Guyana who don't control their own natural resources, right? You say that you got it all wrong. The way you're looking at it is you're thinking, well, Maduro is going to benefit from the oil. Maduro's not going to personally benefit from the oil. The oil's nationalized, right? The people who are going to benefit from it are the people who live in this region, who right now it's the big corporations that are making profits from it. So yeah, I think that would be a great thing. Now, I would prefer that it be done peacefully. I prefer that this could happen in a peaceful, negotiated way. I don't want to see violence. I don't want to see killing. I don't want to see war. But does Venezuela have the right to retake territory that was stolen from them by the British Empire? Does Venezuela have the right to enable the people of this region to benefit from their own natural resources? Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. So maybe that's not the answer that you want to hear, Mazala, but there you go. There you go. Imperialism is an economic system. It's not when one country attacks another country. Imperialism is an economic system. It is Lenin referred to imperialism as the highest stage of capitalism. It is when the world is ruled by big corporations and banks based in Western countries who hold back economic development with the export of capital. They spread their tentacles all across the planet, right? And they create an international financial oligarchy, a network of trusts, cartels, and syndicates, finance capital becoming dominant over industrial capital. That is what imperialism is. Imperialism is not when one country, has a fight with another country. That's not what imperialism is. All right. Next question from Battle Cossack. How do you form an organization and not end up in the protest cage like PSL or CPUSA? You just don't play by any of their rules. That's the main thing, is that you start from the understanding that you have no desire to please these people, that the people that run the communist groups in America and the so-called left in America are losers, they are professional losers, and that you don't want to make them happy. That your aim is to get to average people, not to win over the approval of the left. You have to start with that assumption, right? If you are trying to make the leaders of the CPUSA or the leaders of the PSL happy, you've already lost, right? The politically correct identity politics people, the people who think about nothing but the transgender issue all day long, you should not worry about pleasing them. That's the first thing, right? The second thing is you have to develop rhetoric that is aimed at average people, not at protesters, not at people that are part of the so-called left, at average people. And you need to talk to your coworkers and talk to your friends, and you need to learn to engage with people in a way that they can understand and not be trying to engage with activists, right? That's the main thing, is you need to aim for the masses. We say out of the movement to the masses, out of the movement to the masses. And that's where it's at, you know? So if you want to have a group that doesn't end up in the protest cage, you need to start making everything you do about how could I explain this to my coworkers? How could I explain this to my classmates? How could I explain this to my neighbors? How could I explain this to my family members? And not, how can I explain this to somebody who's already part of this internet communist bubble? How can I explain this to somebody who's already in one of these tiny, irrelevant communist groups? Out of the movement to the masses. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it, right? And if you start with that approach, right, you can get something done. Next question. Some commies are celebrating that Henry Kissinger is dead, which I can understand coming from people who were hurt by his actions in Vietnam and Cambodia. Yeah, and I can absolutely understand that. You know, the thing is that Henry Kissinger means different things. This is a figure who is so key in U.S. imperialist strategy. He did a lot of things in his life, okay? And so if you're in different parts of the world, his actions affected you differently, okay? If you're in Vietnam or Cambodia, his actions resulted in millions of your people dying. And so they're going to see him as a brutal mass murderer. However, if you're in China, his actions resulted in opening up foreign investment to China. So the Chinese are going to see Henry Kissinger as the guy who enabled them to get foreign investment. Whereas the Americans are going to see him, the Vietnamese people are going to see him as a mass murderer. Americans are going to see him, people that protested the Vietnam War, people that were opposed to the Nixon administration and the Carter administration and their crimes, they're going to see him differently. And you have to remember that. Oliver Cromwell is a great example. To the Irish people, Oliver Cromwell is always going to be remembered as a brutal colonizer, mass murderer who committed genocide against the Irish people and the Catholic people. However, to the English working class and to the English bourgeoisie that was struggling against feudalism, they're going to remember Oliver Cromwell as a great reformer and a great bourgeois revolutionary who smashed the feudal system and helped bring about the process of overthrowing feudalism in Britain. Figures play different roles. Napoleon, right? Napoleon, to a lot of people throughout Europe, a lot of peasants throughout Europe really liked when, in Germany and elsewhere, celebrated when Napoleon invaded because he brought them democratic rights. He broke apart the rule of the nobles. However, the Haitian people, they see Napoleon as the colonizer, the leader of French colonialism, right? The Russians see him as a foreign invader who invaded them and tried to overthrow them and slaughter them. So it's complicated, right? Historical figures who play a big global role, they're going to play that role. Look, Stalin, right? We all know that Stalin largely played a very, very positive role in history. He defeated the Nazis. He raised the Soviet Union up from nothing. He enabled the Chinese people to have their revolution. The civil rights movement in America. He got the black freedom struggle. He gave it a big boost because the Soviet Union was on their side. However, to the Palestinians, Stalin is always going to be remembered as the guy who helped create Israel, right? Can we recognize that Stalin did many, many amazing things, for the global working class, but he made a mistake and helped create Israel? Sure. Right? Historical figures can play many different roles. Stalin, in 1948, he signed on and allowed Israel to be created. Huge error. And because of that, the Palestinians are always going to see Stalin as the guy who helped create Israel, and they're not going to like him. But the people in Eastern Europe that he liberated from the Nazis, the people in China who had their revolution because of him, it's complicated. Big global figures like Henry Kissinger, like Napoleon, like Oliver Cromwell, are gonna have complex, nuanced roles, right? That's just a fact. That's just a fact. John McCarthy says people brought their neighbors to the Portland conference. Yes, they did. And shout out to those who did, right? That was amazing, right? And that's what we want. We want people to bring their neighbors. We want people to bring their family members, etc. I'll get to that later, John, but that's a very good, very, very, very good point. All righty. That's the kind of organization we want to build. Out of the movement to the masses. Out of the movement to the masses. All right. Next question. Thoughts on the Venezuela-Guyana border dispute from Pan American? I answered that already. Somebody already asked me about that. I'm with Venezuela on this one. I'm against the British Empire. I am for the right of people to control their own natural resources. I'm against Shell oil dominating and controlling the natural resources of South America. So, there you go. Russia and Iran released a joint statement denouncing unilateral sanctions and calling for governments and the UN to resist them, says John McCarthy. Yes, they did. And that was awesome. That was great. And I also saw that the Cuban president was in Iran also. And the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah of Iran, tweeted out today all kinds of statements. Yesterday, too, about the similarities between Cuba and Iran, how they're both revolutionary countries that have resisted Western capitalism and have built themselves up. It was amazing. So Russia and Iran are teaming up. Cuba and Iran are teaming up. This is good. Many people don't seem to understand that Iran is a revolutionary country. They call it not capitalism, but Islam. The biggest economic entity in the country is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They have these things in every neighborhood called Basij councils that are in every neighborhood and that carry out the goals of the revolution. Iran is a revolutionary anti-imperialist country. They don't call themselves a socialist country. They say they are neither socialist or capitalist. They say it's an Islamic economy, a resistance economy, they call it, because they're against the imperialists. They're a resistance economy, not capitalism, but Islam. But they are not Marxists. They reject Marxism as an ideology. They are religious in their perspective. But they align themselves with Cuba. They align themselves with Venezuela. They align themselves with China and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. They align themselves with Russia. They align themselves with the Palestinians. Iran is a revolutionary country in its essence. In the late 80s and throughout the 90s, Iran was moving in a very different direction. And the Iranian national bourgeoisie seemed to have the upper hand. But 9/11 and the rise of Ahmadinejad and the rise of Venezuela and the attacks from Israel and all of that seemed to really shift the dynamic. And now Iran is very much an anti-imperialist country, a solidly revolutionary and anti-imperialist country. The more radical anti-capitalist side of its revolution has won out. And I had the opportunity. I am one of the only Americans who's ever been in the Supreme Leader's presence. I actually was at an event where I got to, be a witness to the Supreme Leader Khamenei's speeches, and I also got to interview the president of Iran, Ibrahim Riazi. So I'm somebody who knows what I'm talking about. I actually went to Iran and made a movie a few years ago. You can watch it here on this YouTube channel called Iranian Dream. I made a whole movie about what life is like in Iran. So I'm not Iranian. I don't speak Farsi. But for an American, I'm pretty well known compared to most Americans. And I'm just telling you that if you are anti-imperialist, if you're a socialist, you have a lot to learn from Iran. Iran is very pro-black. They are big supporters of Malcolm X. There's big pictures of Malcolm X in Iran. I mean, Iran is a revolutionary country, if there ever was one. And if you're a modern-day socialist, anti-imperialist, you should love Iran. Iran is on the right side in Ukraine. Iran is on the right side in China. Iran is on the right side in Africa. Iran is a revolutionary anti-imperialist side. It's standing with the Palestinians. Iran is a revolutionary anti-imperialist country, if there ever was one. Now, is Iran perfect? Of course not. Women's rights, they have real problems there, and they need reform. There's corruption in Iran. That's an issue that they need to work on. And there's other issues that I could criticize Iran for. Iran is not perfect, and I certainly don't. I'm not a Muslim, and I don't advocate for their system to come here. I would never advocate that. But I'm telling you, in the global class struggle between anti-imperialism and imperialism, Iran is on the right side. All right. And then John McCarthy says people brought their neighbors to the conference. Yes, they did. There was a man, I don't know if he wants me to say his name on here or not. Maybe I will in the future, but I'll have to talk to him about it first. But he brought his neighbors to the conference, and one of them joined. One of them was so moved by the conference, he joined the CPI. We had somebody who brought their next door neighbor, their good friend, their next door neighbor, and he came and he enjoyed the speeches, he was applauding, and then he joined the organization. That happened this weekend. That is the kind of organization we want to build, right? And somebody brought their neighbor, their next door neighbor, who loved it and joined the organization. That is what we want to do, right? And that is what we want to do. And if we have a conference in your area, you need to bring your neighbors and your classmates and your friends, and you need to win them over to understand what we're about. And that's what we want to do. We're out of the movement to the masses. That is what we are all about at the Center for Political Innovation. So, yeah, is there anything else people would like to talk about tonight before we wrap this up? I do want to remind everybody that in Portland, we are having classes this weekend. We are doing a weekend workshop. And so if you're in the Portland area and you love the conference, come to the classes. If you're in the Portland area and you didn't like the conference, come to the classes. So there you go. There you go. Oh, Mariah wants me to talk about the Yemen-Saudi conflict. All right. Okay, Mariah. So Yemen is a country that is on the southern end of the Arabian Peninsula, and it's very poor. It is one of the poorest countries in the world. During the Cold War, it was divided. South Yemen was called the Democratic People's Republic of Yemen. It had a Marxist-Leninist government aligned with the Soviet Union. North Yemen, I believe, was a kingdom, if I'm not mistaken, or some kind of. Regardless, after the Cold War, the Democratic People's Republic of Yemen remerged into regular Yemen, and they became one country. Now, for a long time, they had a guy who was basically a dictator. His name was Saleh. Saleh was his name. Oh, wow. That's great, John. I'll definitely put that in there. That's great. But they had Saleh. Saleh was a dictator. And Saleh was, kind of the dictator of Yemen. And, he was, somewhat of a nationalist, but, he basically just did whatever the USA wanted. But there was a group of people in northern Yemen who live in the mountainous area of Yemen that are not Sunni Muslims, they are Shia Muslims, but they're not the same kind of Shia that they are in Iran. In Iran, the Shia Muslims are 12er Shia. They had recognized 12 imams who come after the Prophet Muhammad. However, the Shia in northern Yemen are what they call Zaidi, meaning they recognize only up to Imam Zaid. And they pray the way that Sunni Muslims pray. They don't pray the way that Shia Muslims pray. And they're not exactly the same religion as Iran. They are Shia, they're not Sunni, but they're a different kind of Shia. They're their own thing. And the Shia Muslims of northern Yemen, they were very, very pro-Palestinian. And they were very, very opposed to the U.S. invasion of Iraq. And they believe in the right to bear arms. Their religion says that every man must have a gun. That it is a man's duty to have a gun. There's a verse in the Quran that says something about being armed to protect your family, and they interpret that as meaning you must have a gun. And so their religion, they're a religious minority in the country, and they have guns. And the government of Yemen was Sunni. And so the government of Yemen was harassing them. And the government of Yemen tried to tell them they couldn't have their guns. So they took up arms. And they began fighting the government. And they seized control of territory. And since 2003, the Houthis, they're called, that's their tribal name. But their real name is Ansarullah, which means soldiers of God. They started seizing territory, and basically, defending the right to bear arms, defending their right to practice their religion. So that's been going on for quite some time. Well, then, you remember in 2011, the Arab Spring happened. And all over the Middle East, people were protesting, and there was protests going on. So, yeah, the Arab Spring. Well, during the Arab Spring, the dictator Saleh stepped down. And people were very excited. And all over Yemen, you had what was called the Southern Movement in Yemen. And those are people that are communists. They want to bring back the Southern Yemen, the DPRY, the Democratic People's Republic of Yemen. And you had Arab nationalists and Ba'athist Arab socialists. And you had the Arab Spring Party that's like a feminist party that was once LGBT rights. And there was all kinds of different groups that were involved. And you had this Arab Spring, and Saleh, the longtime president, stepped down, right? So Saleh stepped down, and then they had an election. It was to elect their new president, except it was a rigged election. The Saudis rigged the election. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, their wealthy neighbor to the north, had an election, and they banned all the other candidates from the ballot. There was only one man on the ballot, and his name was Mansour Hadi, and he's a Saudi businessman. He's a guy who was in bed with the Saudis, a Yemeni guy who was in charge of doing business with Saudi Arabia, and he was the only guy on the ballot. And they had an election with only one man on the ballot, and guess who won? And so one man was on the ballot, and somehow he managed to win. I don't know how he pulled it off. I mean, it's kind of a miracle, but somehow Mansour Hadi won the election because he was the only guy on the ballot. Who'd have thought? And Mansour Hadi was declared the president. Well, a lot of the people in Yemen were like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. The whole reason that we, had our Arab Spring protest to begin with was so that we could pick our own government. And so the Houthis, they all had their armed revolutionary group, and they're in the north, right? And then the Southern movement that are communists that want to restore the DPRY, and the supporters of the former president, Saleh, and the Baathists and the Nasserists, and all of them, they all teamed up, and they formed something called the Revolutionary Committee. And it was a coalition, a united front. And the Houthis, though, they had a military already. They had their own armed group, so they were kind of the center of it. They were the military. And in 2015, they marched into Sana'a, which is the capital of Yemen, and they seized the capital. And they declared themselves to be the government. And Mansour Hadi, the puppet fake president, fled. He fled the country. And the Revolutionary Committee that included the Houthis and their armed militia, but also included the Southern Movement, also included different groups, the Arab Spring Party, and all kinds of different people. They want to establish a federal republic in Yemen. This is very important. They want to establish a government in Yemen that says that if you're in the north and you want to be the northern part of the country, they can have a Shia Muslim government. And in the south, Yemen, they can have a communist government. And in other regions, they want to have a federal republic where the different political groups that are from different regions can have their own type of government. That's what they want. And they want to nationalize the oil. They want the oil, the oil to be nationalized, because Yemen has a huge amount of oil that's just in the ground that has never been utilized. It's untapped. They want to use the oil to fund Yemen's economy and make the country more prosperous. That's what they want. And so they seized control. The Revolutionary Committee that's fighting for a federal republic in Yemen, where the regional autonomy can be granted to these different groups. They seized control of the capital city. So then immediately Saudi Arabia started bombing the shit out of Yemen. And then they started, the Saudis hired Pakistani mercenaries. And Pakistani mercenaries were sent in by the Saudis, and the cruise missiles started flying. And America, the United States, was directing the whole thing. Pentagon generals were in Riyadh telling the Saudis what to do and advising them. American satellites were mapping the places and telling the Saudis where to bomb. And it was really just a U.S. military war against the people of Yemen. But Saudi Arabia did it. Saudi Arabia was just acting as a U.S. proxy to stop the Yemeni revolution. That's what's going on there. However, now Saudi Arabia and America aren't getting along no more. So suddenly the war in Yemen is de-escalating. There's a lot less fighting going on. And China is working with Iran and Yemen and Saudi Arabia to negotiate a peace treaty. Right? And that's what they're doing. They're trying to negotiate a peace treaty. So who is ROG? I see people in the chat talking about ROG. Who is ROG? I don't know who ROG is. Someone tell me who ROG is. What is this? Clue me in. Spill the tea, as they say. Who is ROG? Who is ROG? Someone explain to me who ROG is. Anyway, that's the war in Yemen. That's what you need to understand. right? It's about sovereignty. It's about this very, very poor country with many different tribal and religious and political groups, all of whom are united again, in the struggle for national liberation of the country and control of their natural resources. It's a revolution. It's the Vietnam. It's the Vietnam of our time. And whenever I talk about Yemen, I say the people of a small country can surely defeat aggression by a big country, but only if they dare to rise and struggle. Right? Only if they dare to rise and struggle, take up arms, and grasp the destiny of their country. So there you go. There you go. All right. There you go. All right. Now, the next super chat is from John McCarthy. And John McCarthy says, the Burning Spear, which is the newspaper of the Uhuru movement, printed his whole speech from the Washington, D.C. rally. That's amazing. That is amazing. So not only did Chairman O'Malley send a video message to our conference, not only did we get invited to have a speaker at the national rally to support the Uhuru movement, but in their newspaper, they've reprinted the entire speech from the CPI in their newspaper. That is amazing. That is amazing. And we need to highlight that on the CPI website. That is a great thing. John McCarthy has done so much to make sure that we are always standing. We are at every meeting. We are supporting the Uhuru movement. And the Uhuru movement really appreciates our support. And NOAA has done work with the Uhuru movement, and others in our organization have done it. Timoshenko has been to some of the events and others, but no one's done as much as John has. There's no question about that. So John, that is great. And CPI is with Uhuru 100%. Hands off Uhuru. Today we were in Pioneer Square. We went to Pioneer Square in Portland. It was a small rally. There were just 4 of us. But we unfurled our banner. We had a beautiful banner supporting the Uhuru movement that we unfurled in Pioneer Square today. And we were on the bullhorn, and there's video of it. And, it was really, really great. Peter, who you just saw, he was on there video recording it. And it was really, really great. Gabby is right. We have a great crew of people in Chicago, right? CPI, we are all over the country. We have like branches at this point, right? So Chicago, Milwaukee, right? In the Milwaukee area and in Chicago, we have like a good crew of people that are loyal to this organization. Here in Portland, we have a good crew of people that are loyal to this organization, right? The Pacific Northwest region, and also in the Chicago, Milwaukee region, Midwest, we are starting to develop critical mass in certain parts of the country. Most of our members are scattered at this point, I would say. There are some here, some there. But at this point in the Chicago area, we have a solid base of people, right? A solid base of people. I could start naming names, but that wouldn't be a good thing, right? That's not necessarily good if I name names. But you all know who you are, right? And you're doing great. A lot of great people in Missouri. In Missouri, we got a few people. But that Midwest region, right? Milwaukee, Chicago, Missouri. We got a good crew of people out there. We got a good crew of people here in the Pacific Northwest. We got people in other regions. We have critical mass, and that is really exciting. It's something we should be really, really happy about and really, really proud of. We need to get to the South, is what I think. I think that our next big conference, when we have our next national convention, which probably won't be until after the elections in 2024, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. I would like us to get to the South. Right? I feel like the South needs CPI. They need CPI's message. So,
you think Kentucky with Jeff Young?
Who knows, right? We need to get to the South. We need to get to the South. That's my feeling. So, all right, folks. Well, we're about to hit 2 hours. It's been fun. I'm going to try to stream tomorrow night if I can. We'll see, though. I might have a meeting tomorrow night. I'm going to stream as much as I can. But anyhow, I'm just going to end the stream the way I always do. A new upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. While the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. And while the danger of a new world war still exists and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. Awesome, everybody. We need a government of action that will fight for working families. We need a government of action that will fight for working families. We need a government of action that will fight for working families. Dare to struggle, dare to win. Huge win in Portland this weekend, and we're having classes in Portland this coming weekend. We're doing amazing things. This organization is marching ahead. We are on fire. Dare to struggle, dare to win, dare to struggle, dare to win, dare to struggle, dare to win, and have a good night.